One of the most important things to do is that an agent, particularly if he's new, wants to let everybody know that he knows his stuff. And that's the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, what you need to be doing is collecting information, asking questions, engaging.
Love that.
And, you know, that happens to be one of the things with a 5-point rebuttal. You just need to hear what they're saying. And a lot of times agents don't hear what that client is saying. And so that's where repeat comes in. Repeat it so you can make sure that you got whatever that objection happened to be.
Yes.
And then obviously you isolate that and said, okay, this is your objection. This is what, you know, and then now you're going to overcome it and say, well, here's really how this works.
We're back with another interview. Okay, I'm here with Mr. Stewart Scothorn of the Benefits Link out of Dallas, close to Dallas, Coffeyville, Texas. You've done an unbelievable job at selling MedSup and final expense over the phone with you and your wife. Remind me of her name again, by the way.
Diana,
that's right. She's coming here for videos now.
Yes.
She's going to see this. She's going to be like, he forgot my name. I'm like, okay, I'll make it up when you get here. Okay. I've loved hanging out today, by the way.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been talking everything from business to faith. And you've really got like a lot of knowledge in this space. Okay, so I can tell you guys that are watching, this is going to be a phenomenal interview. This dude knows his stuff. He's been doing it for a long time. You've been around the industry for?
Really 12 years. My wife's been in it for 30.
Wow. That's awesome. That's cool. First question, then, before I jump into some specific things for agents, how's it been working with your wife? For those that are in the business, maybe with their spouse, right?
Well, I think it's great. And, you know, I think there's just challenges that you have with everything. Yes. And, you know, it definitely brings you closer together. Mm-hmm. And you have an option of either creating a wonderful environment or creating a tense environment. And I think a lot of times that's on our shoulders. Yes. But we're so focused. Both of us are really type A personalities, go-getters. Wow. And, you know, it's kind of tough to get those kind of people to get along. Yeah. But we kind of stay in our lane. We really do well working together. And she's phenomenal. Cool. I mean, you know, she's been for the last 20 years one of the top producers in the United States consistently, both in MedSup and final expense. And it's just sometimes amazing to see what she can do. Yep. And it's been even more amazing watching us bring up these other agents that now are seeing those kind of fruits of really walking in that kind of attitude of success that she's really created in this environment.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been impressed with was at lunch is you kept talking about how you were bringing other people up with you and really trying to impact other people that are around you, right? Which you have an opportunity to do. And I was really impressed by like the stories of the people you've been able to bring up and the amount of volume. Like every agent's producing over 1 million in annual volume.
We really push, and when we bring people in, I mean, this is a process. As you know, you've been in the industry. This is not, you don't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to try this and this works. This is something that you consciously say, look, I'm going to work at this. Yeah. And this is one of those things that we got to figure out, look, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. Yes. But most important for us with anybody that we bring on, whether or not that's administration, whether or not that's marketing or agent, is really to have that heart to want to serve, to really want to make a difference.
So deep down, you're looking for that when you're bringing people on.
If they don't have that, no matter what their resume says, and they can sell whatever it is, and it's huge, but they don't have that ability to understand that that person on the other end of the phone doesn't care what you know, but just wants to know that you care. And if we can't give that out in a way that's tangible enough, then I know that that's not going to be a fit for us. And all of the agents that are successful are not only doing that, they're really impacting not only their clients, but the people around them's lives, families. And, you know, we've seen, you know, young men and women that have just really come from backgrounds that really even hard to believe. I think I told you, it's kind of like having the misfit toy island that's there. But I mean, we all are at some point. I mean, all of us are, you know, but watching that success and watching what that does in them is probably the most important thing for Diana and I to see. You know, we understand the most important person's always going to be the client, but yet our reward is watching these young men and women grow into that position of success that not only they thought they could never reach, their family didn't think they could reach, and nobody around them thought they could reach. And yet we're seeing that success, and it's fun to see.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a blast to hear about too. How do you identify the heart to serve? Because that's a really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and it's probably. I mean, I know we've talked about this a little bit. It's really more. It is the faith issue in me. It's the spiritual side. It's really just saying, look, this is where I see this person. I mean, sometimes, when the people come in for interviews, you can tell, look, this person is full of themselves, or this person's completely broken, or this person's really, you can see they've got that coachable spirit. You've got that ability to make an impact in their life, and you really are called. You believe that. And so I think a lot of that is that experience that we see. But I'm not saying that we get it right. It's like I told you today. I mean, look, Jesus couldn't find 12 men. So, I mean, what makes us think we're always going to get perfect employees? We aren't. But I'm telling you, from our perspective,
they can't all be Dylan.
That's exactly right. Dylan, you better hang on to. If you don't, I told him there's a place for him in Colleyville. If there's a lot more to do in Texas too. And it's bigger.
I'm a huge Cowboys fan, so if he goes, I got to go too.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not going to say anything more.
He's a Chiefs fan though, so get him to leave.
I'd rather be a Chiefs fan than a Cowboy fan, so I'm with you, Dylan.
This interview's going south really quick. Enough about Dylan.
I know. I'm actually a Raiders fan, and we had a great Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, you did. Goodness gracious, I brought that up at the perfect time. Dude, that was rough for us.
That was
real rough. What you are really doing well is selling. Focus on MedSup while adding final expense as well, and selling both over the phone. Or are you focusing on both singularly?
No, both of them go in combination. So, I mean, one of the most important things I think that we see is the value that very few people see. I think when you separate products, it's very difficult to go ahead and say, this is the product that I'm going after, and
I agree.
This is how we're doing it. But yet, if you're talking to somebody, and let's just assume that it's somebody that just came off of a group policy, of course you need to handle their health insurance, but they probably had life insurance they lost too.
That's right.
You need to address that at that point in time. And then, there's the person that says, well, I've got plenty of life insurance, and most agents just kind of blow that off and say, that's perfectly fine or whatever. But this is really not to replace insurance. The final expense policies that we're utilizing are not to go ahead and have the answer from a financial standpoint.
Right.
But after anybody that sees this, and certainly all of our agents, over the course of time, I can't tell you how many times clients have come back to say, I didn't realize how much those flowers cost at my husband's funeral. Thank you so much for talking me into getting this life insurance policy. Or the person that does have all the money, but yet his assets with his spouse got stuck in probate court.
Yes.
And now they can't get to him. And the only thing that they would have had was this little $25,000 life policy that now they have cash to at least pay the bills until this gets figured out.
Exactly.
And it's not set up that way when we look at it. We're always thinking, okay, well, I have to be a financial planner. And it's really not that.
Yeah.
But there's such benefit. And again, most of these companies want to do combination apps and even give you discounts if you do combination apps. So it's something really to go ahead and pursue. And we do that really not separately, but together.
Yes. When we talk about virtual sales, are you doing all phone, any Zoom?
All phone, no Zoom.
No Zoom. Okay. I didn't figure, but
yeah, I mean, I've kind of got the face for radio. So.
I love that you honestly, like, you're at a place in your life where you just make fun, like you just in a great place. You just make fun of yourself, which I love, right? Like I that's happened a lot today, which is good. I've learned from it, by the way, just hanging out with you, which is good.
I don't know that that's good, and my wife might disagree with you as well. So,
yeah,
I mean,
we'll see what my wife says.
Yeah,
so maybe
I know.
not.
I mean, she may not be the one to judge that, but I think the important thing is I don't take myself very seriously, and I mean, as I told you today, I mean, I'm a little older than you. As a matter of fact, I could call you son, but. True. I actually don't think as we get older, we realize how little we know. And it takes sometimes to get older to realize, man, I don't know anything. And I think that's where I'm at in life, is to say, I'm eager because I'm hungry to learn new stuff at all points in time. Even working with you guys, looking at all of what you've built and everything that you've done. I mean, I'm amazed. I look at it and go, this is awesome. This is such a wonderful story of vision that somebody had, and then most importantly is I think this is the most important part, is the execution. And you've been able to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. And I'm always hungry to learn, look, how is that? What are you doing? How are we doing this? And it's no different in our industry. Things change. I mean, if we don't, we're going to be a dinosaur. We all go extinct. So we're going to have to learn how to go ahead and adapt. And I think this is the fun part about our industry, because it won't ever be just static and say, okay. And I know, look, we have people in our industry, and we talked about some of them today, that would love it to be that way, that it's always going to be this way, but it's going to change.
Yes.
And we need to be on the front end of that curve, not the tail end of the curve.
Yes, you're 100% right. I think I'm not near as smart as you yet, but one thing I have done well, that clearly you have too, is surrounded myself with
good people.
Yeah. People that are way better at this stuff than
me.
me.
Smarter than us. Yeah. It doesn't take much for me.
Definitely.
See, you had to probably work with a talent crew to get you the right people. But, for me, it's not that difficult to find those people that are smarter than me. And I've just learned, look, I don't know what I don't know. And those are the things that end up hurting you in life. Totally. Let's find somebody that does know.
Yes, exactly. So phone only. Do y'all utilize scripts in your company?
Yes. I mean, like every presentation that we have, for example, any agent, any marketer, we're going to constantly be listening to those phone conversations, because they are given exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and again, depending on the response, what to say, whether or not that's whatever it is. As my wife tells me, one of the things that she's constantly teaching is what's known as the 5-point rebuttal, and maybe you guys have that as well. But the 5-point rebuttal is, first thing you do is you agree, and then you're going to repeat, then you're going to isolate, then you're going to overcome, and then you're going to close.
Okay, and agree, repeat, isolate, overcome, and close. Boom. I love that.
So one of the most important things to do is that an agent, particularly if he's new, wants to let everybody know that he knows his stuff. And that's the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
What you need to be doing is collecting information, asking questions, engaging.
Love that.
And, that happens to be one of the things with a 5-point rebuttal. You just need to hear what they're saying. And a lot of times agents don't hear what that client is saying. And so that's where repeat comes in. Repeat it so you can make sure that you got whatever that objection happened to be.
Yes.
And then obviously you isolate that and said, okay, this is your objection. This is what, and then now you're going to overcome it and say, well, here's really how this works. And you can explain it to them, and then you can go ahead and then move into what the close happens to be. But if you jump out of order, there's no way for anything to happen, because you've lost them, because you, first of all, didn't agree. Nobody wants to argue. I mean, they didn't call, even if it's a lead that you bought or whatever, and, you're calling this lead, you don't want to get with them fighting. I didn't fill that form out. I understand. Let's agree with them and say, okay, you didn't, but somehow you got this. Let me go ahead and clear this up. Let's figure out how this happened.
That's good.
And what we want to do is be able to go ahead and at least engage in a conversation. So, look, we don't want to call you again. Can I check this information to see if it's right? Do you live in such and such? And, is this your address? And are you this age? And, somehow we got this, and this might be a blessing. Can I just ask you a couple more questions? So you now have worked into the next level. And I think those are the things that we kind of give up and say, this is a crappy lead. Well, probably not. But, I mean, we're going to have to work it. And, all of our guys know that process. And as my wife reminds me, it works in marriage, too.
As long as you agree first.
That's right.
It's fine. I love that. You've got a really systematic process for helping agents get from point A to point B.
Right.
A whole presentation, 5-point rebuttals.
Yep.
Right. Like you've even probably got the closing pieces at the end scripted out.
Yeah. Well, and it really is. I mean, it's one of those things that obviously you've got to create that sense of urgency. And if you go off script, there's no urgency that's created, and they don't know what they don't know either. And part of it is our job, we think, is sales, but it's really to be an influencer. And we want to influence them to make those decisions that we know are going to help them. There's nobody out there that's in our business that wants to make a decision for somebody that's going to hurt them.
Correct. That's
not why we're in this industry.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's coming from a place of help.
That's right.
In some way, it's super powerful. What do you notice when you hire new agents? What are the main struggles that you see that others that are watching that are selling, maybe they're with a benefit link or they're not, maybe they're selling virtually from home? What can they learn from in that respect?
Well, I mean, again, probably something I said earlier, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And, you're going to have to have the attitude that you're not going to quit, because there are going to be days that aren't fun. But it's really what you do in those days that define how well you're going to do.
Yes.
Because the only time that you're going to fail is if you quit. And if you make it up in your mind that you're not going to quit, that you're going to continue on, and no matter what it takes, you're going to figure out how to be a huge success in this business.
Yes.
Now, I will say the reason I think it works for us is that's the environment that we're in. If you think for 1 minute, if you or anybody if somebody works for us, we're not going to let them get to that point. Yeah. That's one of those things that you just are able to pull inside and say, wait a minute. I mean, have we sat agents down that we listened to a recording that wasn't good and said, now you're going to go back to marketing because you clearly got off script and you're not doing what we asked you to do?
So marketing is like opening?
Yeah. You're gonna. What we do generally is they're gonna start out in marketing. They're given a script there too that they have to stick to.
Yes.
And then they're gonna be setting appointments for our agents. Our agents are spoiled. I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
All they're gonna be doing is taking appointments that are set for them.
Got it.
And all they're gonna be doing is then just selling. And then obviously we expect that level of excellence because our admin people submit their applications for them, take all their customer service phone calls. So they really don't have hardly anything to do except to be on the phone and make sure they're attentive. And most importantly, really have that heart to care for that person that's on the other end of the phone, even if we can't help them. I tell you, every morning as an organization, we get together as a group and we ask anybody if we've talked to somebody that we need to pray for, whether or not that happens to be, maybe somebody that's sick, maybe their spouse is sick, maybe somebody died, maybe they're raising grandkids because their kids are in jail. But whatever that situation is, look, we have a whole culture in the United States that really discards the senior population. Whereas if we were in a different country, they're revered, they're honored. And yet somebody needs to stand up, and I believe it's in our industry. I think we all need to be that advocate for those seniors to say, look, we care. And when we do that, not only do we end up seeing and reaping the rewards of what God's promised us here on the earth, but look, there's spiritual rewards, and I'm telling you, supernatural rewards that we get too. I tell people that work for us all the time, I said, look, I'm going to require a lot from you. This can be the hardest job that you've ever had, but it will be the most rewarding. I promise you that. And, each day it comes to pass, whether or not it's somebody that they talk to that all of a sudden they're praying and crying with somebody because of what they're going through, or somebody's calling to give us a praise report of what God has done that they thought was impossible, whether or not that's cancer being healed, or we had somebody that had diabetes that was going to lose a leg. And we had prayed for this man, and he called the same day he was supposed to have the surgery, and he said, you know what, I don't even have diabetes anymore. I didn't have to lose my leg. Wow. And so, we've just seen miracle after miracle. And it is something my wife and I have always wanted this to be a marketplace ministry. And it's really, that's what this is. And it doesn't have to be me beating somebody over the head with a Bible and saying, turn or burn. But it does need to come from my heart to say, God so loved the world, not just Christians, but the world. So look, Stewart, you need to go love these people. Figure out how to love on them. They're hurting and they're scared and they don't know what they don't know. Help them out. Influence them in the way they need to be influenced.
Yes. That's so good. His passion's coming through the mic, man. I love it, right? You guys can feel it. You can see it. What's the numbers look like if you're okay sharing like a number of appointments? And
that they'd have a day. 4 appointments is generally the number of appointments that they'll take a day. Usually the presentations for us, 2 close, because keep in mind if you're doing TIs, it's probably about an hour and a half, finished total. And if you're doing med sup and life, so you got to think through all that. So that's usually the time frame that it takes. And that's what we usually require all the agents to be taking, at least 4 appointments a day.
That's awesome.
And usually, even yesterday, just listening to the numbers, most of the guys will be between 6 and 8 enrollments a day. Guys and girls, I shouldn't say just guys. That's my bad. Sure. My wife would remind me of that.
My wife would too. That's a good point, man. Here's what I've noticed from you today, and I'm picking this up on the video. Let's see if anybody else noticed this, by the way. Okay, let me know in comments below. I'm curious. You would rather quality salespeople over quantity.
Correct.
You would also rather quality leads over quantity.
Correct.
You would also rather less appointments that are quality than more.
Correct.
Right? 4 a day. Most people would be like, dude, that's not enough.
Right.
Well, clearly it's working really well.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is not necessarily that they didn't have other appointments, because look, I'm counting the ones that they actually made presentations.
Got it.
They could have other appointments that were no-shows.
Got it.
But they're going to have 4 solid presentations. An appointment isn't an appointment unless it's a presentation.
Love it. That's good. That's good. Because yes, I wasn't correlating that way,
appointment
but
means
I should've.
nothing. As a matter of fact, if a marketer sets an appointment, it's a no-show. We don't count that.
I'm with you. Yes. How often does that happen? A third
Frequently.
or so?
No, I'd say that they run in, depending on the marketer, you know, sometimes they have bad weeks, and you'll see somebody fall into a slump, then you listen to them, you pull them back out, teach them exactly what they're doing wrong, and usually it's something very simple, and then they're able to reset that appointment. But there's also situations, and you as well know, I mean, look, something can happen. They had to go pick up a grandkid. They had to do whatever.
That's right.
And that stuff happens too. But for the most part, I'd say that doesn't happen that often. You know, you're going to have those odd occasions, but we're pretty quick at picking that up. I mean, those are the things that either, you know, it's those small little things that cause problems down the road that you are not able to ever recover from, because now you let this forest fire take off, and I mean, my little bucket's not going to put that thing out anymore. And so I want to make sure it doesn't get to that point. We're going to put that thing out really quick.
That's true.
And again, it's back to that heart, coachability, wanting to see that vision.
Do you listen to the calls with them?
Yeah. Actually, interestingly enough, both admin, marketers, agents in front of the entire company sometimes will listen to those calls.
Wow.
Very embarrassing when you screw up. That's why I said this is
I love it.
This is the Navy SEALs. If you want to get good, this is the way that you do that. And so, you know, we're not talking about, look, whether or not you're going to be comfortable. If you're doing something wrong, you got to be willing to go ahead and say, I'm going to get better. I'm going to learn from that.
That's strong. Well, that makes people leave their ego out of it too.
Well, and the ones that want to change will change. And the ones that don't.
Yes.
Now, I will say I've never had anybody leave because of that kind of criticism.
Sure.
You know, again, if we go through life, I think I gave you that quote from Aristotle earlier today.
This is great, by the way. This is good. Take a note of this. This was great.
If you don't want criticism, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. That's Aristotle.
Strong.
And we just need to understand that criticism is how we're going to grow.
Yes.
And in life, both spiritually, physically, anything that you want to look at, you're either growing or you're dying, and it's our choice. Do you want to grow or do you want to die? Because there's no standing still.
Yes.
Anything that stands still is dying by definition.
Yes. How do you help show rates? Is there certain things they're doing to help the show rate for the closers?
No, I mean, again, because the marketers work themselves into being agents, this is how they start when they start with their company. Every one of them understands that they're setting an appointment for an agent. They understand how important it is to make sure that that person shows up. This isn't just their job. They're already licensed. We have, 10 licensed agents, but we only have 5 agents that are going to produce right now today that we produce about 5 million with. And all I'm saying is, they understand they're moving into this role. The new marketers that come up understand we make them become licensed agents. And then sometimes, maybe they can get there in 6 months or 9 months. Maybe it takes somebody more than a year or 2 to actually get to be an agent. But it's really something that they have to be dedicated to want to understand. This is a skill set. This is something that we're not going to let you walk in and fail. I promise you, if you make it to this role, you will be successful. Yes. But it's whether or not you want to pay the dues. Because if you want instant success, this is not the job for you. Yeah. This is going to be something that you're going to see God come through in a huge way and reward you, but it's going to take some diligence on your part to understand, look, I'll put in whatever I got to put in. That's right. I'm going to be here. I'm not quitting. But again, we live in a microwave world where we expect instant success because, wow, let me look at you right now. Cody, you're successful. I need to be successful because you're successful.
Yeah, they're looking. I heard this recently. I don't remember where I heard it, but I wish I could remember that a lot of people early on compare their beginning to someone else's end.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
Right?
good word. That's a good word.
I'm like, wow, that's strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember where I heard it. Man, I wish I could remember. So good. So good. What would you say out there if someone's like, okay, I'm not having a lot of success with virtual sales or phone sales. I'm struggling to find, I have carriers, I've got good comp. I don't love my lead source. I probably have a little bit of a talent problem. What's some things they could like look in the mirror and do to get better at this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, just recognizing that, I'd say, is, look, I can do better. I mean, I think the problem in this industry is everybody's going to tell you how good they are. I mean, you've been to many of those awards, banquets, and ceremonies and trips, and my son, really almost everybody from our organization always goes, and he says the same thing. It's just, well, I don't want to listen to a bunch of lies again. I said, understand this is really what they believe. It's not necessarily a lie, but they're not going anywhere,
right.
And they've decided where their future is, which is already over. And from my point of view, I can still learn from people. It doesn't even matter. I can learn from that. Look, I don't want to be that. I want to try to improve myself every day. It doesn't matter whether or not it's mental, physical, or spiritual. Look, I need to read more books. I need to pray more. I need to, whatever it is that I need to do more, I'm going to be working on getting better. And if you can at least have that attitude of being coachable and not think that you've arrived, because trust me, we've let agents go that thought that they were the end all be all sales everything. And that doesn't help. And it's just something that you need to understand. If it comes across to me, then it's going to come across to a client.
Yes.
And that's not ever going to work. They need to know that you care. But if the only person that you care about is you, not going very far in this world, son.
Gosh, that's good, man. This is some cold, honest truth today, by the way. This is very good. If someone wants to reach out and learn more about you, the Benefit Link, maybe even ask a question for help, like can they they look up on Facebook? Like how do they?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is fine. thebenefitlink.com. Really call me. I'd be happy to sit down and talk. There's always things. Look, there's plenty of business. I don't think I talked to you about this, but you got 10,000 seniors turning 65 for the next 30 years. There's plenty of business around. And I mean, in some respects, I think it's bad because it creates marginal players. I'd much rather bang heads with professionals that really have the same feeling I do and say, look, I want to find out who's better. Is it Cody or is it me? Let's find out how we can sharpen. Iron sharpens iron, it says in the Bible. How can we get better? And you find that you will if you're in that environment. But if everything's always handed to you, and look, there are lead sources that sometimes it's like that, but you want to watch an agent get ruined really quick, give them that lead source without having to work for a lead, and you watch them just go downhill really quick. Because if it's nothing more than a McDonald's order, they didn't learn anything. They didn't overcome any objections. They didn't learn how important inflection is, or making sure as you go through that presentation, you ask questions, made sure they were engaged in listening to what you had to say. All of those things are important. So, I mean, I would love to hear other people out there that really not only just feel the same way, that believe in this marketplace ministry idea, that we can make a difference in this world, that we can change the world one person at a time by really pouring our heart out to this segment of population that we've been given this gift to. And, it is a gift, guys. This is a wonderful industry that you get paid very well at, but you can make a difference in somebody's life as well.
Yes, you can. Yeah, it's a great industry. It's the best in the world. There's no doubt about it. Stewart Scothorn, Scothorn, so 1 T.
Yes.
Okay, the Benefit Link. Dude, amazing job. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you.
Seriously appreciate it. Okay, for those that are listening, go look this dude up, Stewart Scothorn, the Benefit Link. Unbelievable job down in Colleyville, Texas. If you have any questions for him, throw them in chat and we'll get them to him. Okay, appreciate you listening. See you on the next interview. If you love this video, I got another one that you're gonna love. I got a video just to your right here. Click on that. It's gonna be amazing. You're gonna love it. And I'll see you there. Hey, we normally don't show you this. Okay, I'm about to show you some behind the scenes footage of our Rising Star training that we do every single week. Okay, so we get a lot of questions about this.